In the last videos, we talked about early signs of ADHD and autism, and how some of these patterns can look surprisingly similar. And for many parents, that creates a very natural question. What should I actually do now? Not in 5 years, not after a diagnosis, but today. Because when you start to see these patterns, you don't just want information. You want to help your child. Before we get into that, there's one important shift to make. You don't need to fix your child. You don't need to wait for a label. What helps most in early childhood is not correction. It's support. Support for how the brain regulates attention, emotion, and sensory input. And the good news is, there are a few simple things that make a very big difference. Let's start with the most important one: connection. Not just being around your child, but being with them. Moments where your attention is fully there. Short, simple interactions where you follow their lead. A look, a shared moment, a back-and-forth exchange. Research shows that these small interactions build the brain's ability to regulate itself. They strengthen the systems responsible for attention, emotion, and social engagement. And the key is, it doesn't require more time. It requires more presence. Even a few minutes, spread across the day, can change how a child feels internally. The second thing that helps is predictability. A brain that struggles with regulation benefits from knowing what comes next. This doesn't mean a strict schedule. It means a rhythm. Simple, repeatable patterns in the day. Morning routine, meal times, bedtime sequence, and especially preparing transitions, letting your child know what's about to happen next. In 5 minutes, we're going to leave. After this, it's time for dinner. This gives the brain time to adjust, and that alone can prevent many difficult moments. The third piece is movement. Young children are not designed to sit still for long periods. But for children with regulation challenges, movement becomes even more important. It helps release built-up stress. It supports attention. It stabilizes the nervous system. This doesn't have to be structured. Running, climbing, jumping, dancing in the living room. The goal is simple. Let the body do what it needs to do so the brain can settle afterward. The fourth thing is often overlooked: sleep. Sleep is not just rest. It's when the brain resets its ability to regulate attention and emotion. Children who struggle with regulation often also struggle with sleep, and that creates a cycle. Less sleep leads to less regulation, leads to more stress, leads to worse sleep. So even small improvements in sleep can have a big impact. Consistent bedtime, a simple routine, reducing stimulation before sleep. These are small changes, but they directly support the brain. If you can only focus on one thing at first, make it sleep. It is the foundation. A well-rested brain is a more flexible, resilient, and regulated brain. Everything else, the patience for connection, the ability to handle transitions, becomes exponentially easier with adequate sleep. The fifth piece is reducing overload. Some children experience the world as more intense, more noise, more input, more stimulation. And when the brain receives too much at once, it becomes harder to regulate anything else. So one of the most helpful things you can do is simplify the environment. Fewer distractions, clearer spaces, less background noise. And also, pay attention to when your child seems overwhelmed, because many behavioral reactions are actually signs of overload. There's one more piece that quietly influences everything we've talked about, and that is co-regulation. Young children don't regulate themselves alone. They learn regulation through you, through your voice, your presence, your reactions. When a child is overwhelmed, their brain is not in a state where it can calm itself easily. So what it looks for is something external that feels stable. That's where you come in, not by controlling the situation, but by becoming a steady point inside it. This can be very simple. Lowering your voice instead of raising it. Slowing your movements. Staying physically close without forcing interaction. Sometimes even just sitting down and saying, "I'm here." What this does is signal safety to the nervous system. And safety is what allows regulation to begin. Over time, something important happens. The child starts to internalize that process. What was once external becomes something they can do on their own. But that takes time. And it starts with co-regulation, not independence. By staying calm, you are literally lending them your calm. Your regulated nervous system helps their dysregulated one find its way back to baseline. It's the most powerful tool you have. There's also something important to understand about progress. It's not always visible right away. You might create more structure, improve sleep, be more present, and still have difficult moments. That doesn't mean it's not working, because what's changing first is not always behavior. It's the underlying system. The brain is slowly learning how to shift, how to pause, how to recover. And those changes happen gradually, almost invisibly at first, until one day you notice transitions are slightly easier. Recovery is slightly faster. The intensity is slightly lower. That's how real progress looks. Not sudden change, but small shifts that build over time. Another important shift is this. Instead of asking, "How do I stop this behavior?" ask, "What is this behavior telling me?" Is the child tired, overstimulated, struggling with a transition, seeking connection? When you start looking at behavior as communication, your response changes completely. And that's where real progress begins. Let's bring this into a simple example. A child has a meltdown in the evening. You could see this as bad behavior. Or you could step back and ask, what happened before this? Maybe they had a long day. They didn't move enough. They were overstimulated. They're tired. Now the behavior makes sense. And when it makes sense, you can respond differently. You might realize the solution isn't a consequence, but a change in the routine. A 10-minute dance party after school to get the wiggles out. A quieter afternoon. Or moving dinner 30 minutes earlier. You're solving the root cause, not just managing the symptom. Another powerful tool is doing less, but more consistently. Many parents try to change everything at once. Better sleep, more structure, more connection, more activities. And it becomes overwhelming. Instead, choose one or two things. For example, a consistent bedtime and 5 minutes of real connection each day. Do that for a week. Then add something else. Small changes, done consistently, are what actually reshape patterns over time. 5 minutes of focused play today might not feel like much, but 35 minutes over a week and 150 minutes over a month fundamentally strengthens your connection and their sense of security. And here's something that often brings relief. You don't need to get this perfect. There will still be difficult days. There will still be moments where things feel overwhelming. That's part of development. What matters is not perfection. It's direction. You are gradually helping your child's brain build the ability to regulate itself. Progress is not a straight line. It's more like a spiral. You might feel like you're revisiting the same challenge, but each time you and your child are approaching it with a slightly stronger foundation. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. You don't need a diagnosis to start helping your child. You don't need to wait. You can support their brain today through connection, predictability, movement, sleep, and reducing overload. These are simple things, but together, they are incredibly powerful. In the next video, we'll look at 5 early signs experts actually take seriously and most parents miss. And the truth is this: most behaviors mean nothing on their own, but some patterns actually do. And if this video gave you something useful, you can share it with someone who might need exactly this kind of clarity right now.